recent report by the United Nations says there are currently 7.7 billion people on Earth. Nigeria, with over 200 million, represents 2.6% of that population. While the report further projects the world population to hit 9.7 billion in the next 30 years, Nigeria's population is projected to reach 400 million by the year 2050. This report has been met with mixed reactions since it was first released in April this year.
China is the most populated, maybe in the whole world. And still they are achieving their goals. So I don't feel maybe being overpopulated is the issue. It is government need to do more on its own part.
Take a look at what is going on in the country. There are a lot of children in the street, roaming around in the streets. They are homeless, looking for what to eat, and most of those children involve themselves in crime, some do drugs. So I think the government should introduce a law that will regulate birth control.
Nigeria's population has continued to grow at an estimated 2.6% since the year 2010. However, this growth is a far cry from the rate of the country's economic development. For instance, the World Bank estimated Nigeria's population to be 158.6 million in 2010. In that same year, the National Bureau of Statistics says 60.9% of the population were in absolute poverty. According to a World Bank data, between 2012 and 2015, Nigeria's population rose from 181.2 million to 186 million. However, the numbers of poor people also increased from 43% in 2012 to 50% of the nation's population in 2018. The nation's gross domestic product GDP stood between $369.1 billion in 2010 and $404.7 billion in 2016.
Though the country's economy has expanded at an average of 6% every year since 2006, the paradox of growth in Nigeria is that as the country gets richer, more than half of its 200 million strong population continue to live in abject poverty.
Truly, in the absence of planning,
the Director General of the National Population Commission insists that the nation's population growth can either be an asset or a curse, depending on how it is managed.
Truly, in the absence of planning, in the absence of accurate figures, in the absence of development, then it will now turn to be a crisis, whether Boko Haram, whether Niger Delta militants, whether kidnapping. All this is a symptom, it's an underlying symptom of a major fundamental problem that, look, we are just walking in the dark or groping in dark in the absence of statistics or data that we can use to plan.
Arguably, the future of Nigeria's ever-growing population cannot be left to chance. It requires an actionable plan by relevant authorities to enhance the opportunities that population growth provides.